Additionally, in February, my wife Jen and I visited readers in Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and in Chile. What a pleasure to see friends that we visited along the way here at this conference, like Carlos, our favorite artist, Horatio, I picture you cooking that lunch in Santiago, that terrific lunch. Thank you. Yolanda, where's Yolanda? Yolanda, well, wherever she is, boy, is she a sweet one. And she keeps sending these emails out every day, and to thousands of people, these emails with these wonderful, kind-hearted teachings. And Numaeus, where's Numaeus? Numaeus, will you stand up? Stand up, the president of the Brazilian Association. And, you know, when we were in Brazil, I got to tell you, in Sao Paulo, these folks are on fire. Oh my gosh, they love this book and they love these teachings. Nearly 40 years ago, I was lucky enough to visit Don Hall and his fledgling little study group in Bogota. At that time, there were only a handful of readers in Colombia. And look at you today, hosting the 2012 UAI Urantia Book International Conference. As we say in the United States, you've come a long way, baby. This conference is terrific. Thank you. Camilla, where are you? Well, wherever you are, we love you. You've done such a good job. And yes. I don't know if you hear or not, but there she is, a big hand. And all the organizers of the conference, we thank you very much. Congratulations to the UAI, the Urantia Association of Colombia, Rick Lyon, Gaetan, the speakers, all the people in the background doing the organization, and to all of you that have come this far. And I think what do you guys on the UAI's part to come down to Colombia? Just way to spread this revelation. Good job. There are 150 readers from 21 countries here. And when you hear the story that in 1958, Urantia Foundation sold 3 books throughout the entire world, look at where we are today. Nearly 170,000 Spanish language books have been distributed in Latin America alone. The Supreme Being will have her way with this world. You can see it happening right here, right now. This mission will not fail. It has been approved on the headquarters of 1 trillion worlds. I was asked to speak about Urantia Foundation, but there's a few things I'd like to say before I do. This is a revelation from the heavenly God. A gift to the human races. A miracle of miracles in our lifetime. When you were growing up, would you have possibly believed that you'd be so blessed as to find a book as liberating as the Urantia book? Could you, in your wildest dreams, believe a 2,096-page instruction manual from heaven would fall into your lap and shape the rest of your life? Because of these teachings, you now know that you're not alone, and that your adjuster lives and works inside of you for your eternal survival. You have been given a glimpse into life after death, a vision abounding with hope for you and for your loved ones. You have been told of your place in the heavens, of angels and celestial beings who watch over you, and of an eternal God who rules this universe through love and through goodness. You are the first Urantia book spiritual family of South America. Men and women given the good news long before your fellow countrymen will discover these revealed truths. With this knowledge, you were to become living beacons of love and truth planted in South America. Spiritual pioneers graced with the tools of faith and higher values. May your lights shine to all those around you. And may it be light, devoid of heat, always respectful toward others. A few nights ago, my wife and I were lucky enough to attend a dinner honoring Muhammad Yunus, a Nobel Prize winner. How many of you know who Muhammad Yunus is? Just a couple of hands went up with Muhammad Yunus. So let me tell you about Muhammad Yunus. Muhammad was a very smart young man from Bangladesh who attended Wharton, one of the best business schools in the world in Philadelphia. And instead of going to Wall Street after he got his master's degree, Muhammad Yunus went back to his country, Bangladesh, because he felt he had a calling to his people. He felt that it was very odd that banks only lent money, banks in Bangladesh only lent money to those who had money, but not to the poor people. And he thought it was even stranger that the banks refused to lend money to women. So he wanted to loan money to those people that desired to shape their own lives, the poor people of Bangladesh. And you know, it's one of the poorest places on this planet. He wanted to lend $100, $200 to these very poor people who wanted to start a little business so they could feed their family. The other banker said, that's just impossible. It'll never work. These people won't give you your money back. Forget about it. Today, the Grameen Bank has lent money to over 5 million people in little sums of $100, $150, $200. 97% of the people that borrow money have been women. And 99% of the loans have been paid back. Muhammad jokes and said, I didn't want to lend it to men, I wanted to lend it to women because I knew if the women could start a little business selling bread along the roadside or whatever, they would take that money and they would give it to their families. If we lent it to the men, they would probably go out and buy liquor. Muhammad Yunus changed millions, that's a true story. Muhammad Yunus changed the lives of millions of people, and in fact, he saved millions of people's lives in one of the poorest countries in the world. He dedicated himself to doing good, and he walked in step with the universe. Muhammad Yunus' story illustrates how one individual can improve the lives of many people. So the question here today is, what can you and I, empowered with this new revelation, accomplish in our lives and for other people? You and I may not be able to do big things like Muhammad Yunus, but we do read a big blue book that teaches us how to do little things in a big way, in God's way. We possess a vast inner reservoir of selflessness and giving. This inner reservoir, the adjuster, comes from God, and in God there is abundant life. Abundant enough that practitioners of the Urantia book teachings can become a constant stream of extraordinary acts of kindness that significantly improves the lives of those people around us. Love and service is in our nature. It is in the deep DNA of the master universe. This revelation calls us to be the best human beings that we can be. What does a good person look like? Part 4 of the Urantia book shows us what the Father himself looks like through the spiritual lens of the light of Jesus. The master of our universe went about doing good in the common and ordinary circumstances of life. He ministered to the poor. He gave hope to the weary. He spoke of faith to the multitudes. Yet for nearly a third of Jesus' life, he raised his Father's children. Nothing was more important to him than the person in his immediate presence. While he was busy saving worlds from the delusions of Lucifer, he was also mindful to save money for his mother's retirement. He was diligent in the small matters of life, and he inherited a universe. Jesus went about doing good. As Mother Teresa said, he gave until it hurt. So as you leave this conference, please go back to your homes, families, and communities, invigorated to make a positive difference to other people. Have confidence that you and God can make a big impact upon those around you. The heavenly government wants you to stretch your souls and to give like few people have ever given before. In every occupation, in every family situation, in every Urantia book study group, you can find golden opportunities to improve people's lives. John Wesley said it well: do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, to all the people you can, as long as you ever can. And when your time to depart this world comes, make sure you head to the mansion worlds all used up. When you look back at your earthly life from the worlds on high, you'll be amazed and thankful at the opportunity you had on this world to bring love into this frequently love-starved world. Now back to Urantia Foundation. First, I'd like to introduce Jay Peregrine, the Executive Director of the Urantia Foundation. Jay, please stand up. And we keep hearing the name Olga Lopez, and Olga was kind enough to do the translation on this overhead presentation. Olga is an Associate Trustee of the Urantia Foundation. Olga, please stand up. Did I mention she was about the hardest working person on earth, that woman? And it's my joy to announce our newest Associate Trustee of the Urantia Foundation, Lynn St. Pierre. Lynn, please stand up. By the way, this is the first public announcement of her joining our board, and we're so thrilled to have you. Welcome. So, Urantia Foundation, that's our building, by the way, at 533 Diversity Parkway. It's the building that the good Dr. Sadler gave to Urantia Foundation. The foundation was formed in 1950, and I like to look at it as a handoff from the revelators to mere mortals to try to do the best they can with this revelation. Oh my gosh. Hey Jay, will you do me a favor? Is my bag up there? I have a, yeah, would you bring it? Because I actually have the English script. I'm looking at that to get promptly accused. I'm not reading for the Spanish. I did okay on Buenos Dias, right? Thank you. We're not a social group like the UAI or the Fellowship, but we really want to work with all the groups out there. And there's 2 groups today, you know, in many years ahead there will be so many more people. And just look at the creativity of you people down here in South America, in Colombia, Brazil, and all the other countries, Peru. Very creative. There's a lot more coming. And the Urantia Foundation is dedicated to working with the social groups and those that are sincerely working for the good of the revelation. We're mainly volunteers, and we publish the book, as you know. We translate it. We revise it, which I'll talk about in another few minutes, which has proven to be a very difficult job. It's actually easier to translate the book than it is to revise the book. And we distribute it. The Urantia Foundation is also there to protect it, and we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. And when you look at our long-term future, the Urantia book in English no longer has a copyright. And it was destined to go away by international copyright laws in 2006, but we do not have the English copyright. And someday when there's a lot more books sold, some big publishers are going to publish the book. So we don't see our long-term future as being only a publisher, but we hope to become a great educator for these teachings. The vision of the Urantia Foundation comes from the principal object of the Declaration of Trust. And you can see that basically what we're told to do in the principal object is to take these enlightened teachings and to wisely spread them, seed them into the world. The line that it is time for a religion, a philosophy, and a cosmology which are commensurate with man's intellectual and cultural development are a very important line. The world is rapidly changing, and as we saw in that video this morning, when the man was looking outside, you know that little painting? He was sticking his head outside to look, and what is a better place to find truth than the revelation? There is nothing better. The Urantia Foundation's mission is to seed the Urantia book and its teachings throughout the world. So, when we go to work every day in the Urantia Foundation, we really know what we need to do. We need to get the book into the world and its teachings into the world. That's our job. This is the team of people this is part of the team of people at Urantia Foundation. First of all, the Board of Trustees up at the top, and then the Associate Trustees. You can see that the second row and then on the bottom row is the Associate Trustees. And you see a staff of 5 people. I said we are mainly volunteers, and that is true. There are a few people in Boulder, Colorado working on the internet projects or the web-based projects that are not pictured on here, and they work a lot. But other than that, almost everybody out there is a volunteer. And we're talking about revisers and translators, people working to redo our building, and on and on. And there's a vast group of volunteer people. 1958, 3 books. 2012, there are over 700,000 Urantia books in the world. To me, it's just a miracle. I told my sister I was coming down here, and she said, "There's readers in Colombia?" I said, "Yes." And she said, "How in the world did they find out about this book?" And I said, "I don't know, it must be the spirit of truth." But the fact that there are 700,000 books in the world is amazing. I hear some people think we're going slowly. This isn't going slowly. This is going really, really well. A book that starts with the foreword is not an easy read. A book that's this thick, somebody said it was 2 kilograms. Kilograms? Is that right? 2 kilograms. We say pounds in the United States. 2 kilograms, that's a big, thick book. The internet. There are 700,000 books in distribution, but if you look at what's going on in the internet, we estimate that in 2011, there were approximately 70,000 Urantia books downloaded on the web. That's an amazing number. There are 15 translations, and in 2011, the book distribution, including downloads and sales, were up about 21%. And from our, I'm going to talk a little bit about distribution here. In Europe, over the last number of years, our distribution has gotten better and better. And you'll see it in a lot of the European countries. But the second most important place for the Urantia book is Latin America. And a couple of things. We are, number one, doing a revision right now. There's a united team working with the 1993 beautiful Spanish book that you have and you love. And we're working with Latin American scholars and some Europeans to revise it in a way that we hope there will be only one Spanish book for the world within the next 5 or 7 years. There's now a European edition, there's a Latin American edition. We only want one edition. And on our trip, it broke my heart to go to Uruguay and visit with the twins and find out that the Urantia book, the paperback Urantia book, was selling for $100. We sold that book for $10. In Chile, the Urantia book paperback was $70. That's just not right. In the United States, it's $15 or $20. You can get it for $20 on Amazon. Now, it's not that our distributors are stealing money, but it costs a lot of money to get the book down here with the shipping and the distributors and the store margins and lots of things. But I got to tell you, the board of Urantia Foundation voted at the last board meeting to do everything logical within our power to get the prices lowered in Mexico, Central, and South America. We are dogged and determined to see that price drop. We were selling books for $10. Guess what? We're going to sell them to the distributor for $7. And we're going to do it hoping that that will bring down the price by almost 30%. We don't know if it'll work, but we're going to try. Our distributor is also offering to sell books to study groups. We're looking at ideas on how to go through study groups to get more books down here at a price that people can afford. We're serious about it. I just want you to know that. Good work. Next one. I'm running on long. I hate to be the person separating you from lunch. So I said that at Urantia Foundation, our job is dissemination through translations, through publishing, through sales and distribution. Education, we love working with UAI and the fellowship on the new study group portal. Great job on that. It lists about 225 study groups in the world. We think there's at least 500. So if you have a study group and you haven't listed it in the study group portal, please do it. The study groups, as we all know, are so vital to the future of this revelation. The big churches are really not meant for us, it doesn't seem. And for a lot of the world, the big churches are no longer working. But study groups are such a fundamental family of people that can talk about something. We can't just read this book alone. And the study groups seem to be the best social mechanism we know about. So we are dedicated to it and dedicated to working with you in ways to foster the development of study groups. We also have a UBIS, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Jay loves social networking. He keeps saying, don't think of study groups as just the group that meets in someone's home, but think about those study groups where someone from Russia can be linked up either through Facebook or through a blog talk radio or something, and attending a study group with people in Medellin, Colombia. Endurance. The building at 533 is part of the Endurance Project. I think the Urantia Foundation should be here 200 or 300 years from now. Maybe 500 years from now. What do you think of that?
Yes.
And part of our job is to make sure that the organization endures, and it happens through the systems. Systems like how do we sell books, the processes, the IT. It happens by building a treasury that will make sure that the foundation lasts. The little church down the street from me in my hometown has a much bigger budget and a much bigger treasury than the Urantia Foundation. We just going to have to do more in the future, build it for lasting security for the revelation. And also part of the endurance is the succession of leadership. And there's so many young people here. What a joy. When I went with Numeas and saw the young people in Brazil, it just made me smile. Because in North America, there are a lot of young people, but there's also a lot of people, Jeff, of our generation, that we're getting old and tired, and we need you young people to come take our jobs. There's clapping, yes. And protection of the Urantia book. You know how Jacob protected Jesus? Well, we feel that way at the Urantia Foundation. We want to protect the Urantia book. And there's a number of ways to do it, even though the copyright of the Urantia book in English is gone. By having the standard reference text, the text that is not going to change, and promoting that text means that when somebody prints a later book and they change it, it is not the standard reference text book. That standard reference text is sticking a flag in the ground and saying, this is the book, and anything else in the future that is not this, it is not the Urantia book. It is a change or edit of the Urantia book. Copyrights, of course, we have them in many of the languages. And the other thing is projects like the reputation of the Urantia book on Wikipedia. We've been actively involved in making sure that what is written on Wikipedia can be as good as possible. Now, I got a note last night that the number of editors on the English Wikipedia is now 133 people that are actively editing what's said about the Urantia book. So I think it's a really good thing that there's a group of people from the Urantia Foundation watching it and working on it to make sure it's as clean as possible. By the way, Wikipedia has a huge amount of people going to it to learn about the Urantia book. Moving quickly through the rest of this, you see the three blue circles on China, 1.3 billion people living in China. The book has been translated one time. It is going through the editing process. We are hopeful that in the next 5 to 7 years, the Urantia book will be finished in Chinese. It's the most exciting thing. And along with it is the Urantia book in Japanese that Jeff can talk about, that his wife, Akiko, has been working on for a very long time. So the Urantia book talks about getting these teachings out to the Oriental races, and we're bound and determined to get that accomplished. There's a lot of revisions going on. We talked about the new Spanish book. We talked about the standard reference text, the study group portal. So we can move on to the next slide. Here's a picture of some of the translations. You probably know them. You can see that there's numerous dust covers, and I smiled when I saw the video this morning because it had a different dust cover. And some people wonder, how many dust covers will we have? Well, one thing we know, the dust covers are no longer sacred. We came out with a new dust cover that you see on the book. The current dust cover, we took it to the book industry. A year later in the United States, they said at the book show, well, when are you going to do a new dust cover? So we're finding out that the book industry really demands that we keep changing it and improving it and making it new, and that's how they're going to allow the book to be on the shelf. Getting books on the shelf throughout the world is becoming a more and more difficult project. So we're flexible, adaptable, so the book will sell and we can try to get it on the shelf in the bookstores. So 15 translations to date. Our objective is by the year 2030 to have the Urantia book translated in languages that over 80% of people in the world can read the Urantia book. Here's our website. Jay loves this website. Jay works on this website all the time. But get this number. I still am amazed. 3 books in 1958. Last month, 79,000 people came to Urantia Foundation's website. Who were these people? Where are they coming from? It's a miracle that this has happened. And I know because I looked on the web at some of the projects that you have down here in South America, some of the Facebook groups and other groups that you have. There's a lot of other websites besides your Urantia Foundation website out there. This book is finding its way. The Spirit of Truth is leading its way through that internet. On Urantia Foundation's website, by the way, there are 14 languages, and the website is set up in a way that one of these days we'll be able to just put the local URL of the country like Colombia on the website. So when people search, they'll be able to just find it through their local URL. A good search engine, etc. Urantia Book Internet School. So in 2011, there were 300 students, 15 classes, 15 teachers on 5 continents. But the most exciting news in 2011 was that the Urantia Book Internet School is now in Spanish. And soon it will be in Portuguese. So if you would like to attend an internet class with other students from around the world, go to our website, Urantia Foundation website, click on UBIS, and find a class. It's in your native tongue. 533, our building that Dr. Sadler so generously donated to Urantia Foundation. If you haven't been to 533, we warmly invite you to come visit us. It's a beautiful old historic building, and from my perspective, it's like the Bethlehem of the Urantia revelation. If you go, if you go to the second floor and you sit in the forum room, which is now our boardroom, you can be where the questions and answers took place in the beginning of this revelation. It's a beautiful thing, this building. It feels like home. So please come and visit us. And one of the things that we've been doing over the last few years, there's some generous donors that have put in a fair amount of money, and they're going to need to put in a whole bunch more to renovate the building. But we're bound and determined to pass this building on to future generations in excellent shape. An excellent shape at the building has been things like make sure the plumbing works, that the electricity doesn't burn the building down, that it gets new bathrooms. You can see some of these pictures of the renovation. You can see the old bathrooms up on the top, and you can see the new bathrooms down on the bottom. So we've added kitchens and facilities so readers can come and hold meetings. And over the last couple of years, in fact, Phaeton, you had your leadership meeting at 5:33 in October, and it was kind of a historic moment, because at the same time, the fellowship had their leadership meeting at 5:33. Both social groups were meeting at 5:33 in an act of unity and peace and goodwill, which we all know we need that for this revolution. So for you South American readers, if you ever want to have a meeting to work for the revelation, and you need conference rooms, our doors are open. We've got conference rooms, we've got bedrooms, we've got bathrooms that work. Come see us. So how can you help? The first thing is read the book. I'm changing this order. Read the book. Live the teachings. Trust your Father in heaven like a little child. He loves us. He takes care of us. Can you believe the mighty Father that created those heavens? What we see in the Hubble telescope has put a part of himself to be within us. That his love and mercy is over this human race, for all people, no matter what race, what country, what religion, our Father loves us. So the first thing is to trust that and live a life of good. The second thing is study groups. Go to study groups, start study groups, back study groups, help with study groups. Do everything you can to get 1,000 study groups in the world. And Chris Mosley was talking about the history of Christianity. And we all know that Christianity has run into there's been some ups and downs in the history of Christianity. And the first downs were that the early believers in the Master were considered lower than slaves by the Roman Empire. It's not going to be all that easy when people understand that the Trinity described in the Urantia book, that Michael of Nebadon is not in that Trinity, that he is one of 700,000 creator sons. There are a number of issues in the Urantia book that will turn on the heat for believers. Maybe it will not be in our generation because it is slowly working its way into the world. But someday, some generation is going to face these teachings, that there is now a new book about the life of Jesus and about cosmology. And there's going to be people that don't like it. So if you want to safeguard it, you want thousands of little study groups that can't be attacked. We don't want a big monolithic set of organizations that it's easy to attack. It's tough to deal with grassroots. And study groups are grassroots. So if you want to do good, start another study group. Let's get to 500 study groups, at least in our lifetimes, throughout for some of us old people. Maybe 1,000 study groups. Another point is to give. To give money, time, give anything you can to this revelation. You won't regret it when you get to the mansion. You're going to look back and say, I'm so glad I did it. Libraries. Oh, on giving, which brings us to libraries. We have a really good policy that the Urantia Foundation is selling books cheaply if you want to put them in libraries. But if you want to invest your own money to spread the revelation, buy some books and put them in libraries. I have a stack of books in the trunk of my car. Whenever I can put a book somewhere, I do it. And in North America, I don't know what it's like in South America, but in North America, hotels and bed and breakfasts and youth hostels now have these little lending libraries that let you grab a book off the shelf. I love to just put a book there, and I'm actually very happy to see that it disappeared, that somebody took it out and is reading it. So a really great place to donate that's under your control is giving books into these alternative libraries. And if you ever get a bored moment at 1 a.m., then you can't get to sleep and you need a project, go to Google Books. Go to Barnes & Noble, go to Amazon, go to Fnac, go to Libra de Cultura, go to some of the book chains, internet book chains and physical book chains, and write a book review about the Urantia book. People read those. If you look at some of the books that are on the internet, for example, through Amazon, there may be thousands of reviews. The Urantia book only has 260 reviews. It's worth your time, I beg you to do it. It's an important thing to do. On Google Books, last time I looked, there was only 50-some reviews. And in the United States, the largest book purveyor in brick-and-mortar retail stores is Barnes & Noble. And it was announced today that Microsoft just bought part of the company and is partnering with Barnes & Noble. So, by placing a review about the Urantia book on Barnes & Noble, it's a great place for people to see the book, about the book. So I'm going to close with just one slide.
Is there any audiobook project? In Spanish.
In Spanish. Jay, what's the state of our audio projects in Spanish? We've had a little bit of a problem with that because of the revision. We've been concerned about creating one and then have it changed, but actually I remember the details now. Exactly. The state of it is, there are, I think, a few projects out there right now, people doing it on their own. But the fellowship came to the foundation recently and said, we would like to do an audio version of the Spanish translation, of your translation. Would that be okay? And we said yes. And so they are proceeding on doing it. Now, they'll probably have it done in another couple of years, and we'll have it out there in the world, but it will get updated in another 5 years after that. Now, maybe when I'm finished here, if there's a couple of minutes, although I know we're late and we need to go to lunch, I'd be glad to take a couple of questions and also in private. But I'd like to close this today with the Master's teaching. He said, love one another, as I have loved you. For this revelation to succeed, we must follow his teachings. Love one another as I have loved you. God bless you. Thank you.